The Spoken Token is a proud member of the Pod Studio One podcast network. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the big show. My name is Larry Neal.
And I am Alex Wallace. Larry,
and we are the Spoken Token podcast.
I was just gonna say, I know I always jump the gun. We have been doing this for 8 years now.
As of this episode.
As of this episode, and I still jump the gun on that and don't let you get through. But what I was going to say is that was a very excellent newscaster. Like, hello, I am Larry Neal, and welcome to the Spoken Token. On this episode, we will. I mean, listen, you're just a consummate professional, sir. I don't know why you put me in there unless you just. I think the only reason I'm here is just to add a little bit of chaos. So,
well, I appreciate you underestimating yourself. It's more than a little chaos you bring. But no, everybody. Yes, this is the 8th birthday. Our first episode aired 8 years ago this year during this very weekend that we're recording it.
Wait. Amend that statement. You said 8 years ago this year. So
8 years ago this weekend.
There we go. Okay.
Which is Gen Con. We aired our first episode, the weekend of Gen Con. Currently today it is August the 5th.
Yes.
And so I'm not sure of the actual date, but it was Gen Con weekend. And it's funny because in retrospect, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh, yeah.
To launch a podcast about board games during the weekend of Gen Con when everyone who listens to board game podcasting was not at home. Those are they were all at Gen Con. But
it's okay. They still don't listen to us anyway, so we're not missing out on much.
Yeah, we have our share now, for which we're thankful.
But I can't remember. But in that time, like I have actually been to. I keep getting that mixed up. I did not go to Gen Con. I went to Origins. Sorry. Yeah.
But you have been to Gen Con, though.
No, I haven't
been to Origins twice.
But no, I've been to Origins once. But I will say every time this time of year, I go, there's a part of me that goes, oh, Gen Con would be awesome. And then I see the pictures of Gen Con, and I go, Gen Con would be horrible.
Well, I'm going to need you to get over that because our plan for this year coming up.
No, we've been planning that for 8 years.
No, because we got some different things now. Patreon getting ready to kick off, and some of our other super secret programs that are getting ready to kick off. One of the stated goals at the very top, and no joke, at the very top. You and I haven't discussed this yet, but the stated goal is Alex and Larry.
Hear it first, right here. Even me, the co-host.
Alex and Larry go to Gen Con.
We're going to do Gen Con. I'm going to say this now.
We're going as press. We're gonna make some contacts. We're gonna do the show. We're gonna do what we do. We're gonna talk to people. We're going to do Gen Con, and it will never be the same after.
I will only go to Gen Con and do press conference if I can do something like Triumph, the comic dog, from Conan O'Brien.
You can do whatever you want on your own time.
So a little hand puppet talking.
You can do whatever you want on your own time. I don't care. You can walk around with your own phone and your own video camera. You can. Hey, you got your 2 older boys would love to go. You got a cameraman and a sound man.
No. My boys, no. And I would not want to take my children. I'm already going to have a nervous breakdown with that many people. So.
You're going to be fine.
Because I'm going to be right next. I will be in your little baby Bjorn. Like you will have a baby Bjorn and it will have me attached to it because that's the only way that I will be able to make it through Gen Con.
Well, will make it through together, my friend.
Speaking of making it through Gen Con, apparently I've been waiting to talk about this for since it happened, but I don't know if you saw this. 2 people made it through Gen Con with they stole over $300,000 of product before Gen Con open. So they haven't actually announced what trading. So it was a pallet of trading cards. They didn't say what it was, but they have them on video.
So only 2 they could be Lorcana and Magic.
Wait, it wasn't Lorcana because they've already officially come out, and we're going to talk about Lorcana in a second because they done messed up. But no, these guys. So they walk in before before the concourse had opened, and they get a dolly. Or one of those pump up dollies, or pallet loaders. That's it. They get a pallet loader. They walk in like they know what they're doing. They get to this booth's product. It's all still cellophane wrapped. They put it in and they walk right out. Wow. $300,000 worth of product, and they have 2 grainy photos. But I'm just I think these guys are like live. I mean, they're like role playing. I mean, that's the only thing that I can think. I mean, or like they're planning out this heist. But could you imagine like thinking, okay, there's 80,000 people here.
Yeah, no.
Surely we can get away with this.
No, I can't. And you know, I don't want to go into it too much because you've been to Origins now. Both times I've been were also behind the scenes, and you were too when you went. You didn't necessarily just go, you know, as a gawker. You were there helping some friends of ours out as they were trying to get their board game published. But the second time that I went, the one I went last year with Van Ryder, of course, that was totally different because it was completely behind the scenes, obviously for obvious reasons. There with a publisher, and you know, I will just say that's terrible, and it's not anyone's fault at Gen Con, neither the publisher nor the venue. You know, no one's asking to be ripped off. There has been in the past, hopefully there will not be moving forward, clearly a level of trust in terms of security.
Yeah, this is it's just audacious. Absolutely audacious.
That will most likely, that will surely be addressed. I guarantee you that.
Well, you know,
what these people did, they took advantage of the situation as it currently is.
Yeah. And that's
So
exactly.
Hopefully moving forward, that will be addressed. And I'm saying that from, you know, last summer this time, well, prior to this, I went to Origins. I had COVID during Gen Con last year and didn't get to go to Gen Con. But seeing, like you said, the loading dock, being there, you know.
It wasn't even the loading dock. It was the the vendor floor.
Area, the staging area most
likely,
likely, yeah. It was because behind the show floor, those doors along the back, whichever way is oriented at the back, you open those up, it's a staging area. It opens up into a dock, actually. There is a dock where trucks and pallets can back right up. And you do that for necessity. I mean, every venue of that type is designed that way out of necessity, obviously. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, the product is there. The floor is taped. It's nothing unusual, you know, for trade shows everywhere, not just board games. That's the way you do things, right? Yeah. You know, you're in space AA23. Well, when the event's not going on, there is no space AA23, mm-hmm. right? It's all taped off on the floor, you know, when you walk back. So there's this big, long hall as wide as the whole venue is, and it's open, and it's probably about 24 foot wide. So,
you know, deep. At Origins?
Yeah, at Origins, yeah. So obviously not as deep as the floor. And that's where everything gets staged, you know. Okay. And when you come in, depending on the size of what you're bringing, right? We were, you know, a very smaller publisher. So our stuff, you know, our truck was backed up. Our things didn't sit in smaller publishers like that. Their things don't sit back there long because the group that's there running the booth, putting it together, is also unloading that truck. So they want to get that stuff off that dock and to the booth so they can be done.
Yeah.
Right. So they can be finished. But there are obviously, you know, the bigger companies that have tons of hundreds of thousands of dollars of product. And also, too, that I'm aware of, no one keeps product back there. So everyone's product
has to go from there to their booth. Also, so this was pre-opening. So,
right. Pre-opening.
Yeah. So
that's the thing.
Right.
Yeah, you have a load in. And then you have to get it on the floor.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that was the first big news that I have from Origins. The second big news is also not a positive thing. Apparently the Disney Lorcana reveal opening for people to sell was bonkers crazy and did not go well at all.
I saw that.
There were people waiting in line for 12 plus hours. Oof. And they formed a nice line, but then the Disney Lorcana people moved the line, so people who were already in line for 12 hours had to get in the back of the line, and then they were limiting what product you could get, and some people, and then they sold out a product.
Of course they did.
And what it shows me, so, and I hope this is wrong. I hope this is wrong because I have so much, like as I've seen it roll out. I mean, now legal issues aside, I can't comment on that. I don't know enough about, all the mess that they're in. And if this guy stole that design, I mean, well, shame on him, but I'm excited about the Disney license. I like what they've chosen to do. So I'm genuinely excited about this product, but the way that they handled the rollout at Gen Con.
Yeah.
And what I am now hearing from and seeing pop up of what they're doing for small retailers, I don't have a lot of goodwill towards them at the moment. So ultimately they said, hey, we're gonna give small retailers a crack at this first before we go to the big retailers. And and they're making them OP stores, official play play stores and
Yeah,
all of this
well,
kind of stuff.
like,
And
yeah.
and then over the last month, everyone's like, yeah, cool. Well, they get an email, or they get a formalized letter from Ravensburger that's like, hey, by the way, don't sell the product online because you're not going to get that much. And we want to, so
want
they
you to sell it. Want you to have it in the store because we're going to send the bulk of it to Amazon and
exactly.
Walmart. And,
so what that shows me is that their original pledge to have plenty of product, like they're not prepared. They're not prepared for what they thought the demand. Now I'm excited that the demand is so strong, because that means it's going to be a big launch. But honestly, at this point, I think they're going to trip at the starting line.
You remember Dice Masters?
Oh yeah, it's exactly what it is. But they're going to trip over the starting line, and this, like, Lorcana is not going to be a viable game until this time next year.
Well,
I think it's going to take them.
Will it though?
I think it will. I
mean, well, let's look at it this way. So I don't think it's too early to make the Dice Masters comparison as far as launch is concerned. Correct. I don't want people to be confused. If you're just coming in, if you've never heard of Dice Masters, when you go and do your research and look this up, please don't think that I'm saying it's like Dice Masters a game, because it's not. But when Dice Masters hit, there was nothing like it. We weren't prepared for it.
It was, everybody was super excited.
Right.
I mean, it was just woo!
Bonkers. And they had a production problem that they knew about long before they launched it, but they didn't mention it. And then they launched it, and it was super white hot, and you legit could not get the product anywhere in the world. You just couldn't get it. You just could not get it. And so it ended up crushing that game's launch. Now, Dice Masters is still around. They're still making sets. But it's been relegated to the, not important being pretty much since launch.
Yeah.
Because of that. And it had launched to take over to beat the world. And I feel like with Lorcana, when it was announced, and Ravensburger, when they first put it out there, same thing. Just like you said, based on the license, based on the strength of it, really didn't matter who was doing it. Hobby board gamers thought, Ravensburger? Okay, sure. Why not? And then we got to see the game, and they sent out some kits, and people got rules and think, oh, wait, now this seems kind of cool. And it does seem kind of cool, but to botch a launch that already has so many challenges that it's not even funny, right? This post-COVID situation where we're talking about shipping and production, manufacturing, with costs really being as high as they are, with Ravensburger being the size that they are. They're not a tiny publisher, but they're not made of money, so they have to be careful. To me, it felt like job one for them needed to be, hey, be careful that we don't botch this launch. And it doesn't seem like they approached it that way.
No, I think
it seems like they approached it like, hey, we're Ravensburger, we're going to do what we do. And somebody over there should have been thinking, we cannot botch this launch, because let's just be real. Even in a perfect world, they were never going to have enough product at launch. They just weren't. That's just the way it works. Yeah. And we understand that. So you need to be prepared to mitigate that as much as possible. And like you just pointed out, clearly no one was prepared to do that. That debacle at Gen Con just now, I read a little bit about that too, about the line from someone who was in the front of the line, and then they moved the line, and then they're like, well, now you're no longer in the front of the line. And that the security around him was baffled too, and like, why is this happening? That is absolutely positively someone not knowing what they're doing somewhere in the chain. Yeah. So I'm not necessarily saying that the person who planned it didn't know what they were doing. It may not have been them. It could have been the person who was sent on the floor to communicate what had already been planned. It could be that person who didn't know what they were doing. So, someone somewhere along the way had no clue what they're doing, and you absolutely cannot have that. One of the things
I don't want our listeners to think that we are basing our opinion of this game on this one snafu. No, this is one symptom of a long list of symptoms that we have seen over the last 3 weeks. That is just,
and we're giving you some context.
It's not signaling.
We're trying to give you context of what you're about to see.
Right. So ultimately, I think that the one, and I think the symptom of this that gives me the most pause, the thing that it hurts me the most, is their original pledge to support small retailers, and now the step back and say, hey, you're not going to get nearly as much as you thought. Or talking with Rick, just he brought up the point of like, if there's not enough product, then why are we an official, an organized Play Store?
Right.
Because there won't be anybody to play until it hits online, and then at that point they're not buying from me, and all of those kinds of things.
And again, you can't. It goes back to what I just said. You cannot have people in place. This is one of the things. This is one of the positive things that I learned from Van Ryder. That was a tough lesson, and it wasn't directed at me, but this is something that I got to watch and see them do in the things that they do, which explains a bit about why they have the success that they have. There's certain things, and we're talking specifically about the board game industry when it comes to publishers, strictly talking about publishers' duties. There's certain things that you do when it comes to you handling the picking of your games, whether it's licensed or you're coming up with it, the design of it, from the rules to the artwork to all of it, to shipping. You have to step up to the plate, and certain things you cannot allow. It's not okay. At some point you have to say, guess what? That is not okay. Your good enough is really bad here. Okay? So we're not saying anything about you and your worth, but this job is not what we need. This is not high enough. This is not good enough. It's got to be higher. So now we're going to take some time, move our dates, because now we've got to step in with other people who can do this where it needs to be done. And a lot of where that came from what I saw, was in them, the individuals, seeing that in other publishers, and also to having been in other industries outside where it was the same thing. It's like, this is your job. It's good enough. It's like, no, that cannot be good enough.
And I think that's a point too. Is right. And board games, we are beyond the point at which we were 15 years ago, where you could cut corners.
Oh gosh,
because you're talking small companies. That's why when we when games keep coming out with poor rule books, like, what are we doing here, folks? Like, no, that's enough to sink a company.
That's a nice little segue.
Well, yes, I thought I'd throw you a softball, but again, companies like we're now a big enough hobby that you need to think through all of the things.
Right.
At least if you want to be one of the major publishers.
Yeah. So, decisions have to be made. And so, like I said, that's the person who's running this at Gen Con needs to know what they're doing. So, what's the plan?
Well, we've spent a lot of time on this, especially for the intro banter.
It's great because it's Gen Con time.
It's Gen Con time. But so I hope that I'm wrong with Lorcana. I don't.
What?
I hope that it does run smoothly. I hope that there's enough product.
It's already not done that. So
but I know. But I just hope that that fingers crossed that people can get what they want. Because what I don't want to see is the only way to purchase product is on the secondary market at astronomical prices. Like that's, which I mean, I just can't. I can't. Speaking of, do you see?
How about $150 for a booster box?
How about $1,400 already for one promo card?
I mean, that's just the ridiculousess of it.
Yeah,
but $150 for a booster box is nuts. I mean, the last responsible.
Actually, no, $150 for a booster box.
For a booster box of a game that's not been played yet, and we don't know if it's.
No. I would pay $150 for a booster box because like a box of Magic cards is for like 32 packs. That's standard $150.
Yeah, well,
so
that booster box, I got you for Digimon. That was the last good, responsible, most recent. I shouldn't say last, most recent, really good actual launch of a TCG. It was $65.
Yeah, and well, I mean, I will say, and Digimon was a blast. It
still is. It's still a blast. But
no,
again,
I enjoy it.
Again, Bandai has a lot of experience in this arena.
It's true.
Unfortunately, Ravensburger in this world and in Bandai, that's kind of apples to oranges. But the truth of the matter is, Apple, Ravensburger, you've decided to be called an orange. So you need to understand what it means to be an orange. Yeah, that's my point. You know what I'm saying? And they kind of didn't. You know what I'm saying? They kind of didn't. So I mean, I get what you're saying, and I hope it goes well too. But it's already not going well.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right. Well, we have spent enough time on Lorcana because I don't want to get my blood pressure up. So
I got some pills
say,
for you. You can have I got a pill.
I have one of your pills. All right.
Yeah.
Well, while I go take some pills, we're going to take a break and get into the show.
All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Spoken Token Podcast. It is time, episode number 120. Come join us as we continue with our Summer of Games theme, Summer Speedway. This time, we take a first look at Thunder Road Vendetta by Restoration Games. And then, we talk about unique racing game, The Quest for El Dorado, and list some ways it can both fit in your collection and fill that racing game niche. We give our trademark Summer of Games game choice, and so much more. So, sit back, relax, put on your birthday hat, blow out those candles, and turn us up as we join your hosts, Alex Wallace and Larry Neal. And we are back. And I just want to remind everyone that it is, even though it's our birthday episode, and we did throw a little bit of Gen Con talk in there, maybe a little different. We put a little spoken token spin on it. This is also, of course, the Summer of Games. And this summer's theme is Summer Speedway, where we're going to focus on racing themed games in all forms. So we got a lot of content that we already had teed up and some things that Alex and I have planned that are coming up. It's going to be real special around racing themed board games. And to wit of that, Mr. Alex, sir, where are we going first this episode?
Well, I'm so glad that all of you are able to. I don't know why I went to Shatner. We're not even in space, and I'm sure Shatner did some sort of race something, right? Yeah? No? That was, oh, wow.
He can do whatever it is he needs to do because he is the Shat.
You know, that might actually be the first time we ever have to censor anything, like with a little beep.
Well, that's his nickname.
Yeah, I know. I will say one quick Shatner story. One of my favorite albums in college, he released a spoken poetry album.
Oh, I know. He found a way.
Oh man, and listen, it was at first I bought it just to be ironic, and then like 2 months later, like I've listened to this 50 times, and it was incredible. It's absolutely incredible. All right, so from outer space down to Earth. So Larry and I got an opportunity to sit down and experience two games. Well, actually, no, two games that we both had some understanding of, but hadn't really played together. And one of them we're going to talk about in our first impressions segment. And for us, first impressions is when we sit down with a game that we have. Typically, Larry and I spend a lot of time like thinking about a game, looking at it before we buy it. We put it to the table, and we've done a lot of research on it. But there's something that research can't do that just playing the game does. And yes, so this is our first impression of Thunder Road. Thunder Road Vendetta, actually.
Yes, sir.
So Thunder Road Vendetta is actually would you call it an updated version?
It is.
Okay, but it's based on the classic 1986 game of the same name, and this game, oh man, I have caught myself thinking about this game numerous times since we played it. So ultimately, you are a team of 3 race cars and a helicopter attempting to go down a track that is, basically it's a straight line with a number of spaces left and right that you can move down and up and forward. And it's an action selection game, and you move your cars, and then carnage happens if your car ends up next to a car in a particular space. You roll these dice, and you can bump cars and flip them. The mechanics are so simple, like you understand it in the time it takes to get the box out. Like iconography is incredibly simple, but it is just straight up chaos. Like you can't plan a good turn because everything is based on a die roll. But what's so fun is that sort of Mad Max, car carnage lends itself to unpredictable chaos.
Oh man, yes.
And so I struggle with games that are based on randomness because it's like, oh well, like even like with like fighting and stuff, like a D&D or whatever, like, oh, it's based on the dice. And
Oh, I wish he wasn't telling the truth, folks.
because there's a level at which, okay, that doesn't make sense to me. If I'm this super sleek, awesome warrior person, why am I missing when I try and hit a slug? But in this case, it's so bananas, bonkers, crazy, and in this world, like, there's nothing that you can predict, and so the dice, like, you can like hop on top of a car and then spin out, and it's all mitigated by dice in a very simple, very clever, very easy to understand way. And so I just had an absolute blast with this. Had an absolute blast.
So one of the wonderful things that you're doing, like you said, it is a re-implementation, obviously, of Thunder Road, and it's, of course, is Restoration Games released this one in 2023. So your cars, you have large, medium, and small, and you have those because, of course, that dictates where cars go when you slam the car. So when you in a space with another car, you put your car on top if you were the person moving. Even cool things like the cars were designed to sit on top of each other nicely.
Yeah,
So
it's
so
brilliant how they made it.
yeah, so that you can go through and make sure that they sit where they need to. The die that you roll dictates which car moves once you do that, once you slam them. And then there's a separate die that you roll that dictates which direction it goes to kind of, is what it's talking about, what Alex is talking about in terms of the carnage. And so you move the car that gets moved, whether it goes backwards or forwards or sideways. And if it hits another car, guess what? You stack that one on top, and when you're done with yours, they do theirs. And so you can have these crazy chain reactions where cars are slamming other cars. If you happen to move your car into a space and maneuver into a space where you don't slam on someone, then you can just flat out shoot them because, again, it is Thunder Road. So you get an opportunity to do that. And of course, you're rolling dice to figure that out. The helicopters, each team has a helicopter, and that is a power that you can use. That's one of the more modern things that they brought into it. You roll your dice, which is one of the cool things about how you set your action selection. You roll your dice, and then you, as a player, you get to assign which die you rolled to which one of the cars that you want to move. So your small, your large, or your medium car. And or you can assign it to a special area that gives you one of these special actions, one of which is, of course, the helicopter. The helicopters are just completely just crazy because they will destroy any car that ends up in a space with them, whether it's yours or not. So if your own helicopter ends up in a space with them, then it gets destroyed as well. And you're doing all of that just for really one purpose. You're trying to be the first person across the finish line. In a multiplayer game, when that can start is, as soon as someone loses their last car, that's the last turn. So you would take the finish line, which is why it's a separate piece, and you would put that at the end of the current tile that you're using. And then once a car got to the edge of that one, that will be the end of the race. Normally, when a car gets off the edge of the front leading tile, you take the back tile up. So any cars that are still back there are lost completely. They're out of the game. And then you pull a tile, one of these really big, nice tiles. You pull one of these and you put it in the front, and that becomes the new front tile. And so you kind of leapfrog, and that's really, really cool in that it gives you the illusion of driving down the road, but it can keep the play surface right there in front of all the players. Because you pull one up,
Yeah,
so you can slide it down and put another one in front. So everybody's always close to the action, which is really cool. I love the frenetic pace. It didn't, to me, I wasn't sure how it was going to be frenetic. I mean, I knew the game. I known how to play it. I did not get a chance to play it originally back in the day, but I knew about it. And I wasn't sure how they were going to keep it. But and when we first started, everybody was tentative. And we were all driving around the little markers with the little terrain. Everybody made sure they got through those. And I was like, okay, this is fun. And it's going to be more tactical than I thought. And then, as Alex said, the first slam happened, and that was all she wrote. Cars were flying everywhere. Shrapnel was flying in weird directions. People were slamming each other into other people. I mean, it was crazy. And it was so fun. It is such a blast. Quickly, the production. Top marks.
Golly Bill.
Top marks from the cards themselves.
There's no reason for it to be as good as it is.
Oh, fantastic. Other than the fact that Restoration Games wants to be known for that, which I'm here for it. It is fantastic. It looks, I'll try to do a picture when we post this one up. If you haven't already seen the cover, hopefully you've seen it because it should be everywhere. But it just looks like a fun, good time from the 70s or 80s/80s There's no car movie, Mad Max, but with a little bit of fun, not as serious even as those. But that's if you're thinking of, hey, is this game like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome? Yeah, in terms of that car carnage piece, yes. I'm going to disagree with Alex and say you can plan a turn. In fact, I planned every turn. It's probably never going to happen, but you can still plan it every time, and that's part of the fun. because when I plan to get Alex, but then I instead we end up putting out one of Rick's cars, well, that still works. That's great. I was trying to get one of Alex's, but we got one of Rick's instead. Or I was trying to get ahead, but that car of mine is completely gone. Well, that's fine. I got 2 more. Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. I'm so glad I got it. When I saw it in stock, that's why I jumped on it. And Alex called me from a FLGS.
Don't mention.
Don't
mention.
Oh no. We
buddy.
going there, buddy. He calls me, guys. He calls me. I want y'all to listen to what he did to me. He calls me from an FLGS. Oh my God, this store is just beautiful. So, man, great. One thing, I can't really think of anything I want, man. It's good. Oh, wait, hey, looks like they've got an expansion of Thunder Road. You want to get that one? I was like, really? That's awesome. I haven't been able to find them anywhere. Which one do they have? I don't know. With some semi trucks and motorcycles. Yeah, man, just go on and get it. Tell me how much it is. I'll send you the money. Just get it. He then immediately talks himself right out of it. Yeah, man. Well, you know what? We haven't played it yet. Let's just wait. What difference does it make? I'm sending you the money. What are you talking about? He's like, nah, we'll just hold off and wait.
Hey, listen, I was trying to watch out for my friend. I was trying to watch out for my friend.
Your collection is your collection. I will thank you to mind your own collection, sir. We've had this discussion, but that's what he did to me, y'all. I ain't been able to find that expansion nowhere.
Oh,
love that game. It's fantastic. It is fun. First impression, absolutely. We need to play it some more, and I can't wait to get that one down with my brother and some youngsters. We had a 3-player game. It was brilliant. It's brilliant. It's so fun. Game length. I've heard some stuff about game length. Because there's a lot of obviously it's dice, like you said. So you've got the dice in there and stuff, and there's a lot of random things that could happen. It's possible that you could have a longer game, a 4-player game, and if things roll the right way or the wrong way, depending on your perspective, yeah, it could go 90 minutes. It could, if you're playing a full game. I think that's going to be rare, but I also think you're going to have a blast for those 90 minutes. Okay. And again, the reason why I say that is because everyone's going to have to make sure that they always keep at least one car alive. And typically when the cars go, they go in bunches. So,
yeah.
So good luck if people's cars is dying and you think, I made it. No, you now have no cars either, because that's how it works. But it's possible. It's possible. I think about 60 minutes with 4 players, hour 15, hour 20 with 4 players. And that's from box to back to shelf. So getting out of the box, going through it, showing everybody how to do it, putting it down, playing it, cleaning it up afterwards, and putting it up. Seriously, hour and a half tops, 4 players. That's a blast, guys. That's a blast. You're not going to have fun with a hobby level game in less time than that. So I don't want people thinking, oh my God, an hour and a half, it should be 5 minutes. No, that's not what this type of experience is. I think the game length is just fine. I know I'm biased because I've said it before, if you're just joining us or you're not joined or not heard me say it, when I'm to play games, I'm there to play games. So that doesn't mean I may never complain about game length, but Alex knows I'm generally not going to. I'm not going to. This is what I'm here to do, is play games. So I don't mind. So I get that, and I understand it about myself. But still, honestly and truly, an hour for 4 players would be just fine. And that cool cutoff, that when the first person loses all 3 cards, that's it. So if somebody's right next to the end, it doesn't matter. You still put that finish line right there. You know what I'm saying? So that would be the end of it then right after that. And I think that's a really cool mechanic. There's player elimination, obviously, because of that, but that turn becomes the last turn. So there you go. But gosh, guys, Thunder Road Vendetta. This was designed by Marie Bergeron and Garrett Kaida, and of course published by Restoration Games. The re-release is dated for 2023. This one is fantastic. I think it is fairly widely available. Get it. Spoken token standard advice. Never overpay for it. Don't overpay for it. If it's not at retail, then wait. But definitely worth it. If you think you like it, if you think the theme, you're going to like the theme. If you want something that'll play with families that's a little bit more meaty, and you've got, older kids you can play with everybody, get it. Absolutely get it at this stage. We're going to get back to this one and get it to the table more seriously. But yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Uh,
Super,
good
super dig
stuff.
it. Super dig it. So, well, cool. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break and then we will come in for our next racing game. And we are back. Yeah, I know. It's been 8 years and I finally get that right.
I know, right? That's awesome. That's awesome. That's okay, though. I still have already cut Cynthia out from when she did it, and I got her queued up to replace you at any point in time. So we're going to get into this one segment that we did during our Summer of Games a couple of years ago. I'm going to bring it back, and I'll explain how it's going to fit. And we call this one Building Blocks. And what this one is when you're new to the hobby, must have games. And typically we talk about them by mechanic and genre. Do you need some games if you own others in the same category? So those are some of the things we'll talk about. Obviously, some of that is already set because we're talking about racing games. And I am going to say this one about this one because it is not newer. It is a little bit older, but man, is it absolutely worth it to me. And that is going to be The Quest for El Dorado, designed by Mr. Reiner Knizia. And I think if you like racing games and you don't want everything to be just a straight point A to point B, something racing something else, in the traditional sense, because those are the types of racing games we're talking about. But in the traditional sense, whether it's cars, horses, boats, spaceships, whatever, robots, people, whatever. If you don't want to do that and you want a racing game, it is a racing game, but it's very clever. It's very different. It's got a cool theme, Lost City of El Dorado. For a building block, if you're building your collection, The Quest for El Dorado is one that you should have in your collection. I call it a building block. What say you, Alex?
I mean, absolutely. So we played this with Rick as well the same day, and I remember when this first came out. I played it with, or not first came out, but near when it first came out. Because I think it actually won the Spiel des Jahres at one point, or when it came out. But we played it, and this was back when I was like, I only wanted like the most complicated games with all the bells and the whistles, and deep strategy and everything. And so I sort of like thumbed my nose at this one. But then when we played this with Rick and Larry, like it just clicked for me, and I was like, oh my goodness, it's so simple. I mean, because it's a little bit of it's a deck builder game, but with easy movement. And but it was so streamlined, so well done. Because I've kind of come into this new, not necessarily a new type love for particular games, but I just like games that don't ask too much of me now. Like, no, I like deep strategic games, but I now have a newfound appreciation for.
Hey man, let me hold $20. No game. No game. That's too much. I'll give you 5, but I can't give you 20. Too much game. Too much.
But I enjoy games now that that I can also socialize while I play. And it's not just a bunch of
I don't know who you are.
People sitting around. And so like thinking through this, and it just golly Bill. I was smitten with it. You
sound like a filthy casual.
Filthy casual. And I guess that's who I'm becoming now, because those are my favorite games. Oh, did you know that as the moment we talk about this, Ravensburger has just released an updated edition.
Yes.
So there's a 2023 edition.
I know. Because when I purchased the one that we played, we had them. They were both in the store, and I had them.
Is that my boy? What's his face doing the art? It looks like his
Vincent
style.
Dutrait.
Yeah, it looks like old. Oh, wow.
I don't know. That's a good question. We need to find that out for sure.
Yeah, okay. It's not important right now at the moment.
The only thing that I saw that was different, the contents are the same. The new box says it has the little mini expansion in it about the caves. The old box, the original box, says it has cave tiles. And again, the component lists on the back of the boxes is identical. So I went on with the older one. I kind of like the way the older one looks. I like that it got an update. That means that they're supporting it. And it is a fantastic little game. Like Alex was saying, it is a deck builder. Everybody starts with the same.
Oh, yep, it is Vincent Dutrait. All new
Okay,
art. All new art.
there we go.
So.
Everyone starts with an identical hand of cards, and you use the cards for movement. The tiles of the game, it's variable. It's got a variable board that you can build. You build it before you play, and then each of the tiles has a symbol on it. Whether it's there's jungle tiles, or should I say, these are types of tiles. Let me back up one. So there's jungle, there's water, there's like camp, there's mountains, and then each of them has a symbol on them that will be, one or two or three machetes, and those denote how difficult it is to pass the terrain. Well, how the cards come into play is that you have to put a card down that equals the power of the space you're trying to move into. And you can go and you can play as many of those as you want to move as far as you want. But of course, in deck builder fashion, you want to make your deck stronger. There is a market of cards you can purchase, and your cards serve two purposes. So you either use them for movement, or you can use them, the ones you can use for currency, to buy cards from the market so that your deck is stronger. And so that's the standard deck builder, which I think is super clever that they put it in.
And honestly,
it's just a race game. You're trying to get from point A to point B first.
But I also think this might actually be a wonderful addition to anyone, or again, like you said. I mean, I think it's an absolute necessity in your collection, especially if you're just starting a collection. But this is probably one of the two games from me now that I would use to introduce the concept of deck building. So I just adore it, and I kick myself for not giving it its due when I should have.
Well, I'll be honest. When I first started working in the store, it caught my eye. The original box art caught my eye, and then I saw the name, obviously, Reiner Knizia, and he's someone I have just a tremendous amount of respect for as a designer. And there were plenty of games I needed to learn in order to move, because Rick had things displayed that I didn't know. So I was moving through that, learning those first. And when I had some downtime one day, I just grabbed a box and read it, and I was immediately intrigued. And I was like, oh my goodness, this sounds great. And when we first talked about this summer's theme, and you said racing games, I was like, that's fantastic. It didn't hit me at first. And then I'm sitting there one day and I'm going through the collection and, looking through the stuff that we're going to do. And then it dawned on me that I said, wait, isn't that a racing game? Really? And I went and looked at it and said, yes. And I'm like, okay, for the show. Woo, woo. So I went and got it, and I was so excited. And I adore it. I adore it. I'm going to play it with the Sibs. I'm going to say this because they don't listen to the show. So I think it's probably just this far over what they are going to want to do. I'm going to put it in front of them anyway.
Oh no, but this is the one that they'll roll their eyes when you start explaining it. But then after they play the first turn, there's no problem. They'll have it.
They've done well. That's true, but this is the thing. The concept of deck building. That's where they're going to hang up, because you're right. They're going to get it. What they're going to have trouble with is the concept of, okay, why am I spending this money on these other cards? Because you want to make the cards better, and immediately they're going to be like, okay.
So just a heads up.
I got to worry about my cards, and I got to worry about. Okay, I'm out.
Yeah, just a heads up. I did a little checking around. There are three. There is one expansion already out.
Is coming.
Big expansion. There are two expansions that are actually, sorry. There's a new expansion coming out this year. There was one that just came out last year. So they are still
we hope so.
They're still supporting this game.
Well, of course they are.
So
to get Vincent Dutrait to redo the art.
Yeah.
No, I tell you all you need to know. I just hope that money was already spent in light of what we talked about at the top, because Ravensburger could be running into some issues, but we'll leave that alone.
But they have so many other games that they've got puzzles and all of those things.
No, it don't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think they're going to.
I wish it didn't, but it don't matter. If a big enough mistake is made, problems could be had. But that's what I'm saying. I hope it doesn't happen, because I'm with you, and I love that they're supporting it, and I think this game is fantastic. So absolutely, guys, it's a building block, and again, this is building block. The quest for El Dorado. And this is published by Ravensburger and, of course, designed by Mr. Reiner and Knizia, and was originally released in 2017. And as Alex has alluded or mentioned earlier, there is a new version for 2023 with expansions coming. It is worth it, guys. It's a quick little race game. This one you're going to play in 30 or 45 minutes, maybe sooner. As you start looking at the cards and you start seeing the combos, that kicks in. So it's a very solid deck builder. The artwork is really, really nice and colorful, and it can only be better with Vincent Dutray doing the artwork, obviously. And it's just a fun little, quick little time. It's taut, it's tight. The tiles are double-sided. There's a lot in the box. There's more in the box than you need for a game. So you got a lot of replayability there, plus stuff coming. A lot of great value coming for that one too, guys. The Quest for El Dorado. A wonderful building block if you're building a new collection. And you can, and people say, hey, I like racing games. Oh, I got one for you. And then drop Quest for El Dorado on the table. You will not be disappointed. I guess we're done with that segment. What do you say?
Oh, I think we're ready for the big wow.
No, man. We ain't nowhere near WoW. You be trying to WoW. I'm okay. You are officially fired from WoW duty.
No,
you just get it wrong every time. You are just so wrong. It's just wrong.
What? Oh,
you don't read the notes.
I pre-wowed. Oh, okay.
We halfway down the page.
I pre-wowed.
I'm gonna leave it alone. I hear you said it again. I'm gonna leave it alone.
All right.
We're gonna go take a short break, and then we'll be right back. Back. So, Mr. Alex, you were a little early. So, again, you've been fired from that. But we got something else we got to do. It's still.
I know.
Summer of Games.
Summer of Games. Games.
And
yeah,
with it being Summer of Games, we have to give the people what they want. And what they want from us now is a game they can go and play immediately when we're done. Enjoy it with their families.
Stop with the Shatner. I think we have run him into the ground.
That's not possible. He is the Shatner. But no, absolutely. Every time during Summer of Games, Alex and I like to give you a spoken token, tested and tried game to go out and get as soon as you finish listening to this podcast. Go and get it right now. Play it with your family. Play it with your game group. You're going to enjoy it. It is guaranteed that you're going to enjoy it. And hey, if you don't, let us know. We'll talk about it. Because we'll have to figure out what's wrong with you. Because I just said these are spoken token, tested and approved. I'm just
tested and approved.
I'm going to start us off this time with a game that actually I meant to put on. It got jumped by a game last week because I got some stuff in the mail. But this one was on my original draft. And that is the game which we talked about recently. But it is absolutely one that people need to go and get. And that is Bonanza, the card game. Or as some people call it, the Bean Game.
Bonanza.
It's fantastic. Get yourself a copy of it regardless. The current 25th anniversary edition is out. It's a great value. But even if you get an older edition, that's fine. You're bean farmers. You got bean farms in front of you. The cool thing about this one is that when you draw your cards, as you hold them from left to right, when you pick them up, you can't move them. And you have to play them from right back to left. And you can't, people like to get them like when you're playing spades or something, and you like to put your cards together. You can't do that here. As you pick them up and get them, the way you pick them up is the way they have to stay. And that one small thing makes it so clever. Now, and then you have to trade beans with people because you're trying to get rid of beans that you don't want to get ones that you do want. You're planting them and you're trying to hold on to get the biggest set. It's set collection so that you can sell them. It's something that you can play with the entire family. If you get that 25th anniversary edition, you're going to get 3 or 4 expansions right there in the box. So you're going to have a bunch of beans. The bean art is delightful and hilarious, and it is a fantastic design. It also probably belongs in a building block. It should be in your collection. That is Bonanza. Go and get it, Mr. Alex. What is your choice, sir?
I feel awkward because my game has some similarities, but the game that I am suggesting everyone go out and get for the summer to play is the game Scout by Oink Games. So Scout is also a hand management game that has the unique caveat that once you pick up your cards, you cannot rearrange them. Now, Scout takes it a little bit further than Bonanza, in which that you can flip your entire hand, and so there are numbers on both sides that are actually different. And so when you pick up cards off the table, you can put them into your hand. Well, actually, you're playing cards from your hand. You're never picking stuff up. But it's got a loose circus theme to it. But you can either play runs or you can play 3 or 4 of a kind. But the box, I mean, we're talking is smaller than a well, it's not smaller than a deck of cards, but it is an incredibly small box.
It is little, yeah.
The cardboard for it comes pre-punched, so you don't have to do any of that. But you can take that anywhere. And we have played it for 2. We've played 2, 3, 4 players, guys. This is. I mean, I love Niet.
Excuse me.
I thought Niet was my favorite.
Oh, Niet is so good. Do you have a copy of Niet?
I do. I thought Niet was one of my
Never sell that.
Was what my favorite card game. I actually think Scout beats out Niet just barely as my favorite competitive hand card game. Now I don't put the crew in there because that's cooperative. So this I'll be quiet. But no, guys, I cannot recommend Scout enough. It's easy to teach. It's a little it's a little kind of counterintuitive when you start it, but once you get through that first game, it is just stinking tastic.
I want to play that one. I haven't played that one. That's
we're talking. And listen, y'all, $20. I mean, boom. You're
well, first of all, you got to find it.
Oh, it's. I think it's.
Scout is hard to get, brother.
Is it still hard to get?
Yes. Whenever it comes out, I mean, they're printing them, but whenever it comes out, it goes quickly. So keep your eyes on it.
I didn't mean to tell. Okay, I'll do another game then.
You don't have to do another game, man. You did the good stuff. Scout is fantastic.
But I want them to be able to go out and.
Well, I mean,
get the game.
They might be able to. Just don't overpay for it. Oh, and I feel remiss. I am so sorry. I need to back up on mine too. Banter is designed by Uwe Rosenberg, and it was published by Amigo and was originally released in 1997.
Hey, just a heads up for everybody, if you're interested in Scout, Amazon has them. It's and it's from Amazon. You can get them. Yeah, so they've got them. So there you go. But I'm just saying. I mean, that was just a quick search. Go to your local FLGS first. Always go to your
back
local.
it up. No, don't backtrack now.
Shut up.
Backtrack now.
You know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. Wow! Looks like we've come to the end of the show.
Man, you didn't tell us who did Scout. I'm waiting on that.
Oh, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. It's kind of crazy. It's
how is that different?
Kia why do you make me say this? So Kia
I didn't name it. I didn't make you say it.
Kia Kajino or something to that extent.
And who publishes it?
Published by Oink Games. I started with that. So, but yeah, guys, so good. Find it, get it, play it, love it. Wow!
I appreciate you, man. I do. It's the effort, brother, because you put in the effort. So we appreciate that. You try every time. Don't matter what the end result. Well, okay, it kind of does.
Oh, man.
But yes, we have come up to the end of the show. Stay tuned for some things. Obviously, it's our birthday. It's August. We've got some expansion work coming, and we're going to obviously get together and do some more things. We got more racing games coming your way. Please reach out to us on social media. Don't forget about the contest. There are some people who have tagged us. We really, really appreciate that. So we've got some names in the pot. What you're going to do if you tag us on social media playing one of the games that Alex and I have listed here at the end of the show, the Summer of Games Choice, you will get an entry for each time that you do that. And then when we're done at the end of the summer, we're going to put those names in and we'll figure out a way whether you assign your numbers or not. You can enter for each game. So you can't have more than one entry. And for each game, if you do it each time, we're going to take care of that. Make sure you tag us so that we can find you. That's part of the reason what that's for. Yes, it helps us, but also we can find it so we can make sure we get your individual entries. So tag yourself, playing the game, pictures of the game, tag us in it, and we will get you entered in for some goodies for the end of the summer. And with that.
Well, and also I just want to remind everybody, if you have been listening to us for these last 8 years, or even just this is your first time, and you enjoyed what you heard, we do ask that do us some kindness and go like us, review us on everywhere you listen to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts,
Yes.
Podbean. Yeah, all those places. That I
Yep.
mean, it takes about 30 seconds, but it does us huge favors.
Mhm.
Just getting some exposure and helping us, honestly, to be able to provide better content for you.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate it. Go find us on the socials. We are the Spoken Token Podcast, Instagram, and on Facebook, and I guess Twitter, X, whatever that
I don't know
whatever that is.
legit on the for real tip. Probably not much longer.
Okay, yeah. So all of that, but I mean, again,
Had enough of that foolishness on that side.
yeah. So just, I mean, please do us that favor. So we appreciate you so much. So for the Spoken Token, I am Alex Wallace saying, keep playing.
And I am Larry Neal saying, keep communicating. This has been the Spoken Token Podcast. If you would like to interact with us, please find us at Facebook at The Spoken Token, on Instagram at The Spoken Token Podcast. Our Twitter account is at The Spoken Token. Email is thespokentokenpodcast@gmail.com. And our BGG guild number is 2656.
You are listening to a Pod Studio One Podcast Network podcast. Find more great podcasts at www.podstudio1.com.